Ubisoft isn't a stranger to making innovations. They came up with For Honor, which had its interesting way of tackling melee combat. Then there's Riders Republic that decided to take a battle royale formula and then put it in an interesting direction. They even made Immortal Phoenix Rising, which wasn't really innovating on anything from Breath of the Wild. However, it was a new direction compared to the usual titles that Ubisoft works on, and on top of that, it constructed its own universe and characters and was a highly commendable title in the end. However, when they come up with something of a winning formula, they tend to really stick to it, maybe exploit it to a point that I would say is to a fault. I think Rainbow Six Extraction is part of the latter description of how I know Ubisoft. Not because Rainbow Six Siege is a generic take on the tactical first-person shooter. It wouldn't survive this long if it was. But due to how it attempts to integrate itself to a horde shooter without really revamping itself towards that genre. Horde shooters are typically the types that you can pick up and play and more or less just learn how to play by ear. Most mechanics can be inferred by the intuition of any gamer who has at least tried out some sort of Call of Duty or any of its clones. In fact, the more arcade approach by Call of Duty with its zombies mode was able to make that successful transition. Rainbow Six Siege on the other hand is more realistic, more tactical, and how you must move must be informed by how you read the situation. A complete opposite of how horde shooters generally make you go in a run and gun style play. So, on paper the challenges are there, but a very possible, interesting new take on the established genre could happen here. And while some of the efforts are commendable, there are a few cogs in this machine that don't quite match well with its other moving parts, and that unfortunately made for a rather bland experience. Still with me? Let's go over Rainbow Six Extraction, the good, the bad, and the space zombie. Here's the setting. Something invades the United States, we're not sure what, but it's making sure we know it's there. The government puts together a team best suited to investigate the situation. That team soon became its own entity called REACT. You take charge of these operators and do incursions in the affected areas to rescue people in danger, investigate the invaders, and slay them if necessary. First, the graphics and the audio. The models for weapons and the operators themselves look pretty well thought out and distinct from one another. Even though they ideally would be sporting similar gear, you can for the most part guess what they do just by looking at them. There is one problem though. These assets are from Rainbow Six Siege. It doesn't feel right to be gauging how good the graphics are for this occasion if most of it's sourced from another game. It's like ordering takeout, serving them to guests, and claiming it to be your own cooking. Aside from that being a massive meme, it also feels pretty dishonest. With that, what part of it can I look at and gauge it with? Well, I suppose it's gonna have to be the alien zombies. They do look pretty alien in a sense that they're usually some sort of naked life form that looks human enough. They come from weird egg blobs, that's kind of it. Pretty alien, I guess. Functionally speaking, they work. You can tell which one runs at you to strike at you, which one shoots alien bullets, sorta, and which ones explode. There are others, but their design isn't as telling as the previous ones. You can tell where their weak points are by noticing whatever's glowing on their body, but other than that, they all look generic. They all look pretty similar except for maybe the bloaters, so they're kinda boring to look at. There are some cutscenes which look phenomenal, but they're generally short and just used as a tool to contextualize what you're doing. It's hard to get invested in any of it, but it certainly looks like they just want you to jump into the action as soon as possible. I mean, I'm a big fan of not getting my time wasted. That's good. The audio experience is pretty on par, though I'm not sure how much of it is just inherited from Siege. I'm certain the techno track is original, which does a fair job of heightening the tension during encounters. It doesn't feel like something I'd get sick of, which is a big deal considering how often I'm gonna hear it. In general, I don't have any glaring or deal-breaking complaints with the game's visuals or sounds. It's just that nothing really stood out to me. It looks good, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing about it I'd really remember like maybe a week from now if I stopped playing Extraction. Now for how the game works, or, well, the mechanics. As I said before, this title is clearly built on top of Rainbow Six Siege, so I won't be going over the classes, the gunplay, or the finer aspects of tactical movement within the game. Instead, we'll be focusing on what unique mechanics Extraction adds upon this. First off, you run a roster of operators you can choose to play as, one at a time. You go into incursions that are basically 3 sets of random missions patched together, meant to be done one after the other. They're connected via safe rooms, where the amount of danger you have to face increases with every succeeding area. The more dangerous the mission, the better the experience your selected operator gets once they get out. When they level up, they gain some significant perks, such as enhanced mobility or defense, or access to different types of weapons, allowing you to change up your arsenal and, by extension, your tactics per operator you want to use. For example, Doc, who starts out with a loud and proud shotgun, can be given a submachine gun that can have a suppressor attached. Other attachments such as sights or grip can be swapped out as well, so I can decide if I'm going to fight them at range or up close and personal. However, do note that you gain the said experience when you get out. In usual horde shooters, you have to be mauled by a mob of zombies or minions for you to be taken down. But that's not how it happens here in Rainbow Six Extraction country. Taking any hit is already a significant mistake. 3 hits from a grunt is probably more than enough to take you down. And nope, you don't just get to redo a mission once your operator goes down. Instead, your operator turns into some sort of horrible rendition of SpongeBob. They are trapped in this stage, then need to be rescued. Once you rescue them, they finally gain the experience they earned. But Len, I hear you hypothetically ask, do they die permanently if you fail to save them? Well, no, they eventually come back, but they lose any experience they were supposed to gain in the first place. So there's a sort of Dark Souls mechanic mixed in there now that I think about it. Once your operator returns, they actually sustain the damage from the previous incursion. If they're too damaged, they stay behind until they recover enough to be able to go out again. How much they recover depends on how well you do on your next incursions. So when you hear this, you're gonna think, oh, okay, I guess I have to be able to play several operators, and yes, you're pretty much right. One of them may need to recover, or maybe rescued, or you know, somebody might want the same operator and they got to pick it first. It happens, it's multiplayer. With this sort of forced rotation of operators, the game does feel quite dynamic, at least for a time. There are also smaller side objectives you can accomplish throughout your incursion. It's the usual: take down alien eggs, land X amount of headshots, do stealth kills. The usual suspects you'd find in these live service kinds of games. Simple, easy to understand, grindable objectives. Accomplishing these will allow your base to level up, your other progression, unlocking new operators and giving access to new items, allowing you to swap around even more with your loadout. With this degree of customization available to you, you get a very sophisticated, flexible, and interesting set of tools to handle whatever the game could throw at you. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to throw very much. So what is the content like, you know, all the stuff you get to actually play through in the game? I just talked about how Rainbow Six Extraction manages to put together a rather punishing but at the same time interesting system in front of you to manage through. Lots of possible iterations and setups you can mix and match with. It's like you were given a kitchen that can handle cooking anything. Wedding cakes, thick cut steaks, fried chicken, anything. Also, in hindsight, I do talk about food a lot, I'm sorry. And then you're tasked to cook canned soup. You think you'd be moving up in the world after your 10th can of soup, but it's more of the same. Preparing canned soup, but with a twist of adding an egg, I guess. I swear the food analogies will stop, I swear. Like I said before, the enemies do different things. Some of them run up to attack you. Others shoot something. Some others set up traps that blow up, or the others just blow up themselves. However, they all meet the same end. I shoot them down or take them out stealthily. I just have to look for a way around them and take them out. While the tools for the operators are pretty helpful, specifically those who make scouting a lot easier and safer, they certainly make the game a little too easy to get through. On top of that, enemy abilities are predictable. How to deal with them is predictable. It's kind of a phoned-in affair. I mean, sure, I had a hard time at first, particularly when I was playing solo because I don't have a lot of friends. There is a satisfaction in learning and overcoming the initial challenges, but not long after that, tackling almost every mission becomes routine. Through several hours of playing, I find that the worst that the game can throw at you is a bullet sponge version of an operator. I was thinking that we'd need to fight something that can match an actual operator to make fights more exciting, but this ain't it, Chief. Of all the enemies, I think the Shrouder was the most interesting because it made it possible for me to get ambushed easily if I wasn't careful. Still, it would have been nice if alien zombies were given a more interesting form with matching abilities rather than looking like people dipped in mud trying to run at you just to get shot. Maps. Despite having 3 major areas, don't offer much in variety either. Since there's nearly no verticality in this game, the traversal is too simple for what we know these operators are capable of. Aside from maybe texture packs, all of them are more or less mini mazes for us to wander through. It might have been improved should some locations have something unique about them to stand out. Perhaps fire hazards, radioactive areas, maybe ladders or ropes you can climb or descend from, or foliage or darkness that just makes for poorer visibility. This was an opportunity for Rainbow Six to have more curated sequences to play through. You know, pre-planned levels, maybe fight a giant egg queen, or perhaps fight along with a larger military force as backup. That would have been epic. I mean, this is an alien invasion. It would have really felt like you were fighting alien invaders if there was a response that matched that. Maybe even give operators more characters, since creating cutscenes with them was very much possible. Right now it's a random quest generator and nothing much after that. Challenge mode is just more quests strung together. Wish there was more, but that's it. Rainbow Six Extraction offers a somewhat robust way of communicating with teammates without having to use voice chat, which I had a hard time adjusting to because I'm simply more used to playing Apex. Had you seen some of my gameplay, where you'd find my common mistake was to press 3 when I wanted to run. That button was unequip weapons in the other game, but it's throw smoke grenade in Extraction, and well, that led to a few moments here and there. The game also offers a codex if you like reading, which is not my thing, but you can do that. Finally, Extraction has a store full of cosmetics. Whatever, going to follow their history with things you can purchase. An XP booster can be expected there sometime in the future, which you can use if you want. I just find it a bit scummy. Also, I ran into a bunch of bugs. I had a hard time getting this game to start, but that's me, and I haven't heard any glaring bugs from other reviewers, so your mileage may vary. So, what is the verdict? Rainbow Six Extraction showed me that sometimes you can make solutions that are way too complex for certain problems, and raising the stakes by severely punishing mistakes makes it harder to learn the game. The way the game tweaks itself with the in-game director is neat, and I wish it made a better single-player experience, but admittedly that's not really at the forefront of this development. This title throws many exciting short-term goals at you which can keep you hooked. It can, at least for a while. The lack of a long-term goal though, or a proper story finish, especially for me, makes it difficult to invest long hours into it. Unless you're the type that just wants to unlock the next set of items or perks for every operator, I find it hard to justify keeping at the grind with just that. Rainbow Six Extraction does indeed feel like it opens up once you have a decent squad, or at least surrounded by friends. However, this makes the game depend on that to be good, and I don't think that's a reliable metric to go by. So let's say you have a bunch of buddies and you do like this kind of game, this could be a good match for you. It's not a fully priced game either, so it won't set you back as much. Just manage your expectations a bit. As for people like me that like to be able to play games with or without people joining you, it's a bit of a hard sell. If I'm unable to enjoy a game by myself, I tend to think of it as incomplete. You'd think that makes me incompatible with multiplayer games, but I play Guilty Gear a lot, and I hardly fought people. I just mainly explored everything with training mode, mastering combos, understanding mechanics, all that. Legends of Runeterra, they came up with Path of Champions, and now I've been playing it a lot more than I'm willing to admit. And the other game I won't shut up about, Apex. That's impossible to play without teammates, but I don't need good teammates to enjoy the game. While Extraction does allow for single player play, progression is horrendous. It completely pales in comparison to having like 2 other decent teammates next to you. And this is why I view Rainbow Six Extraction as something incomplete. This kind of made me appreciate Left 4 Dead 2 a lot more than I did back then. It makes me want to revisit it and just study how many things it got right despite its age. Perhaps there's a few tricks in there that Rainbow Six Extraction can pick up and play with as well. Rainbow Six Extraction might need a few more shots to hit the target, scoring a 3/5. This title is available on the PlayStations, the Xboxes, PC, and Stadia? Yeah, it is on Stadia. That's what it says. It's right there. I don't know who owns a Stadia, but it's there. Now allow me to make you an offer. You want me to make more of these? Click that like button. You want to tell me what you want to see more of? Leave a comment. You want to bait me into making hot takes that you can guys roast me for later on? Follow us on social media. That's going to be Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, if you want to just check out everything we do, you can find that at RayMarufaz.com. Alright guys, I appreciate you guys sticking all the way to the end. Thank you so much. That is the end of the review and the end of the video. Until next time, I'll see you